They're choosing basically the best projects of the best, for which the competition for deals is very significant, while the rest, let's say 99% of the opportunities, are having difficulties to fundraise for. We definitely see this changing next year, since the investors became more ready to deploy in more and more opportunities. Yet the main focus of the investors is now not anymore the hyper growth perspective, what we saw last year. It is now organic growth, it is now operational efficiency, and of course the track to profitability.
Hello and welcome to the first episode of Venionaire Insights, provided to you by Venionaire Capital, the entrepreneurial partner for venture capital and private equity. Today we're going to talk about the latest market developments and the future outlook for 2025. And that's why with me I have Denis Voldman, lead investment analyst of Venionaire Capital. Hello, Denis.
Hi, Philipp. Great to be here.
Denis, what exactly are we going to talk about today?
So today we're going to cover the insights for the private equity market, venture capital market. Of course, we're not going to forget the crypto and Web3 world. And yeah, let's speak some exciting things.
Sounds great. So let's start off with the private equity landscape. Last year was a year of recalibration. So what were the most pivotal changes and how do they set the stage for 2025?
The recalibration is a very good word to describe the last year. We have seen some pivotal changes in various markets. And if we start with the general economical developments, we definitely saw Europe struggling, with the leading economies like Germany, for example, struggle due to the export issues, as well as the general lack of strength in the automotive industry. We saw the increased numbers of insolvencies, for example. However, we definitely saw some rock stars, such as the Middle East market, as well as the Japanese market. Both are definitely going above and beyond what the expectations were before that. We are actively present in those markets, of course, through our local partners, and we continue to follow the situation in those countries. Talking about the Middle East, for example, the Gulf region in general is attracting as much talent and capital as was ever before. And it is exciting currently there on both private equity and venture capital side of things. And also, of course, Japan is definitely waking up from its sleep, continuing for the last 10 years or so. And we definitely see strong potential in the market there as well. And talking about the real estate market, with the interest rates decreased last year, we of course expected decent performance from the sector. It is still yet weak, and we do expect the next year would be the same for the real estate market. Talking about the equity markets, we also saw some increased activity, especially in the European stock market. We saw some great performance, with the European stock market outperforming the S&P 500. If we of course take off the rock star of Nvidia from the S&P 500, which is an outstanding result, of course. On the flip side, the private equity market and venture capital market in Europe saw some difficulties, so to say, and this resulted in the decrease of the valuations. This resulted in general decrease of the investors' activity on the markets, which is all related to the fact that investors became particularly cherry-picking in their opportunities. It is now much harder to fundraise for the investment opportunity, since investors are looking for this increased alpha, and they're choosing basically the best projects of the best, for which the competition for deals is, of course, very significant, while the rest, let's say 99% of the opportunities, are having difficulties to fundraise for. So we definitely see this changing next year, since the investors became more and more, I would say, ready to deploy in more and more opportunities. Yet the main focus of the investors is now not anymore the hyper growth perspective, what we saw last year. It is now organic growth, it is now operational efficiency, and of course the track to profitability. Those three components should be seen in an investment opportunity that deemed to be successful next year. Those things we noticed. Moreover, we see a new focus in private equity and venture capital markets, where investors are actively investing in strategic buy and build opportunities, which were typically before that only about the traditional, or I would say boring businesses idea, rather now transformed into various sectors like software and basically many sectors out here.
Mhm.
And the idea is very simple. You can either spend 5 million euros, for example, as an investment on organic growth, acquire customers, and maybe retain some, or alternatively, you can buy smaller players with the same amount of money and get probably even more customers for the same amount of money.
Mhm.
The idea is simple. We ourselves at Venionaire actively work on various exciting projects in this field, and we believe this is a new idea and an exciting focus for the 2025 year.
Okay, so investors are ready to deploy, looking for profitability, and have a new way or a new strategy to investing. Now, unfortunately, a lot of companies are insolvent. We're dealing with a poly crisis in the last months, and like the last year has not been easy. So, what should investors do in these situations when the companies are insolvent?
So, as we always say, the creative plays win. That means that investors gotta be creative, and of course, it can happen that the company would be unsuccessful in some way. Yet, the resilience still is the key. At Venionaire, we definitely saw ourselves some restructuring needed to be implemented. For example, the case of our AI guitar learning startup, Fritello, where the company did well during the corona. Then there was changing in management, the weaknesses in the conversion rates, and so on and so forth. As a result, the company had to go through the restructuring process. Actually, Bertolt, our CEO himself, stepped into the management position, took the lead, and as a result, now Fratello is more resilient and stronger than ever before. We're very excited that we have the backing of most of the shareholders of the former company, and now, of course, are ready to continue developing the project. So, as a result, basically, resilience and creativity is the key. And as an investor, you should understand that and act on it, of course, and of course, support all of your companies.
Let's talk about IPOs. They're expected to come back. What can we expect this year?
So definitely IPOs are expected to come back. That's right. Next year, 2025, we see that the IPOs will account probably for 1/4 of the total US market returns, which is exciting. Before that, 2 years ago, it was just 2%. See a drastic change here, right?
Yeah.
And it's actually not only the US market. We are at Venionaire, we're very careful with the American market now due to the geopolitical tensions as well as the tariffs developments. Yet we see Europe is also ready to be back. We see some great opportunities out here in Europe and potential IPO candidates that are ready to go public. Even in Austria, we see the cases of Bitpanda, where they're actively speaking about the IPOs. Even in our portfolio, we see some great candidates for the IPO maybe in the next 2 years or so. And definitely there are some exciting opportunities in Europe as well. So excited for the IPO in this year.
Okay, this sounds very exciting. So now you mentioned Japan. Let's talk about the Asia Pacific region. What can we expect here?
So definitely some changes happened in this region. We saw that India became the number one private equity market in the region, which basically took over the Chinese place, taking over approximately 1/4 of the entire investment volume for the region.
Wow.
Yet the Japanese market seems to be very, very interesting and exciting with such private equity giants as KKR or Blackstone coming to the market. This is all related basically to the fact that now the aging population is ready to retire and hand over their exciting businesses, and the private equity market is ready to get them basically. And we also deem the region to be very, very prominent, and that's why we are there through our local partners, and of course, very excited for that.
That sounds great. Let's switch to venture capital. The last years were highly dynamic. How does the road ahead look like for venture capital?
On the venture capital side, we also saw significant signs of recovery. We started noticing the increased investors' activity. The VC deployment grew around 20% this year, which was definitely noticeable, especially for such sectors as AI. Of course, if you ask me, yes, it is a hype. it is something that drives the valuations crazy. We see basically on the private equity side, we saw a trend of declining valuations, which is not the case for the European and the American AI sector, of course. But let's see how it develops as well. Everything about AI is now running around the efficiency, capital efficiency, energy efficiency, and everything related to that, because developing an AI model is becoming less and less capital intensive. We saw the first OpenAI models costing billions of dollars, with the current models that could be basically produced, tested, and launched within the millions. The case of DeepSeek proved that the development of the AI model can be done even under $50 million. So you see some crazy decreases in this capital needed for launching an AI model. And that's why we definitely see the potential in startups that are operating in this area. For example, the German Quant that are also working in the photonic chips sector, and basically are revolutionizing the energy efficiency and capital needed in the development of the AI models. We see something else that is particularly interesting, that Europe is waking up as a deep tech hub of AI as well. And of course, we already saw and will see great opportunities in Europe as well, not only in the US.
It sounds very great that Europe is waking up regarding AI, a thing that is highly needed, some people say. When we're talking about trends, we're certainly talking about the top industries that people or investors are interested in. So no investment advice in particular, but which industries are the top industries for 2025?
That's some great question, of course, and the first answer would be very simple. Everybody could have guessed it. It is, of course, the AI sector becoming on the hype right now, and of course, it's really not just the hype. It is some great potential that this sector brings. It innovates and brings something new to all basically sectors. Can it be gaming, finance, energy, basically any sector out there. Also, those that I will cover then. And of course, the main pain point of this sector is still the business model and its energy consumption. Of course, everybody wants to use AI models, yet they consume too much energy. And as I mentioned before, the energy efficiency is the key point, and that's why we'll be following those companies that work on that point. The second sector is, of course, the life science sector, which is one of the few that would benefit the most from the AI enhancements. We saw the not such a great interest of investors in the diagnostic sector, for example. Yet we expect it changing so much in the coming year, solely due to the AI models that are now working very efficiently in enhancing the diagnostic solutions. One of our startups, Piam Diagnostics, that may be very well known due to their MyBioma product, is actively now engaging with AI models to enhance their diagnostics product. And this is the trend that every other life science startup that wants to be successful should adopt. And of course, with that, we would see some great IPO developments for this sector, particularly. It was quite weak in the past years. And that's why this sector is very interesting. And the last sector, of course, is sustainability sector. This sector was definitely one of the strongest for the European region. Yet the other countries also follow up, with India, for example, having some exciting green energy goals, and of course, other countries also following up. We at Venionaire are particularly excited about our Invest CC project, which is basically a dedicated fund that will be launched in the first pilot city of Klagenfurt, and then potentially be launched in around 100 European cities. And it will be investing in those great opportunities from the sustainability sector that, of course, would not only bring financial benefits, but also the impact in the world, which we particularly excited about.
So we have three main industries, you say, like AI, life sciences, and sustainability, and of course, everything that is integrating AI into their industry. Coming to our last topic of today, Web3. We're highly involved in this field ourselves with our Venionaire Web3 fund, of course. The developments in the latest weeks and months are very, very dynamic, as I can say. So what do we expect for 2025? And can we even predict that?
That's a good question because, of course, the last weeks were like crazy. We saw every week some basically significant changes in the market, back and forth, the increased volatility. Well, crypto markets definitely have the high inherent volatility, but the kind of volatility we're experiencing right now is off the roof. And what we definitely see that the main importance is coming back together to the factor of mass adoption. As soon as we see that point, and we definitely see some advancements on that side, then we would be able to see the, I would say, the consistent growth of the market. Yet, as you mentioned yourself, we are big believers in the Web3, and through our Venionaire Web3 fund, of course, we continue investing in this world of Web3 and very excited about. Another development that we at Venionaire noticed was the increased interest of the investors to the ETP and ETF products for crypto. They are basically a great tool to bridge this traditional finance aspect and capital from traditional investors to the digital assets. It's a very nice tool to get the liquidity to the digital assets market and, of course, bring the institutional investors to that area. With the MiCA regulation, of course, the more and more European investors enter this market, but definitely through these products like ETPs in Europe, for example, we would see more and more institutionals entering the market. We're actively working with the leading asset managers from Europe and also not only from Europe in order to develop the index methodologies for the Web3 sector and launch the products in this field as we deem it to be very, very important and prominent sector in the coming year.
So as we wrap up, what are the key takeaways for investors now to keep in mind?
So 2025 will be a very interesting and exciting and also a very important year for your investments. With the renewed focus on value creation from the investor side, with some emerging sectors like AI, life science, or sustainability, we definitely expect some great developments. The investors, I would say, should become resilient and also cautious with their investments. They should definitely follow the investment idea and thesis that they stick with initially. And of course, I wish our audience big success with their investments and keep following us.
Well, thank you, Denis. Thank you guys for watching and tune in for the next episode of Venionaire Insights.